From Super League to Olympic distance to age group world records to Kona. Go longer with the right fuel at the right time with SFuels.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bob from beautiful St. George. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spa, Zoot Sports, the original triathlon brand, HOKA, Let's Fly, SFuels Go Longer, Biostarks.com. Use the code BWB10 for 10% discount. Quintanaroo, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Zions Bank, Premium Plus Sports, and, of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation, the stars of that triathlon show. Eric Lagerstrom, Paula Findlay join us. How you guys doing?
We're doing great, Bob.
TV stars, come on now.
We're doing.
You got the name wrong. It's That Triathlon Life.
Oh.
That's why I laughed. But it's okay. It's okay.
That Triathlon Life.
Restart.
Come on now. God.
It's all good. It's all good. There is actually That Triathlon show on podcast, I think, out there on the internet.
Yeah,
That's the only reason.
I feel awful.
No, don't feel
It's
bad.
fine.
It's just funny.
Dude, you do a lot of these. You did a lot of these.
So, speaking to the Santa Cruz 70.3 champion, the two-time Alcatraz champion, those were sort of the goals going into the year.
They were kind of coming into this year. That's really what I was kind of things that I had in my mind. I wanted to go win a 70.3, and it's been on my bucket list again to win Alcatraz ever since I won it. Wow, what was that now? 2015? 2015. Yeah, I've been trying to.
You won Beijing, right? That was a double.
Yeah.
That was a double year.
Yeah, like this year and that year feel pretty similar in that I just kind of feel like it's been a slow, very steady, just consistently good year, and I'm just riding the wave and having a good time.
Well, in those, Santa Cruz, that's sort of like home turf for you.
Yeah, I also have won that before as well in 2018, and I don't know, that race just really captures my imagination in a lot of ways. It's just a beautiful vibe and a beautiful place, and the course just suits me pretty well, and yeah, I don't know, it's I love that race.
You're
so
staying
much.
in the van, and
Yeah.
just sort of like that's good stuff.
Yeah, it kind of represented a lot of like dreams and just, I don't know, like fantasies or whatever that I have, and when I think about like ideal races and locations, that's always at the top of the list.
And Paula, when I look at your year, we're talking U.S. Open 10th, but really, and Collins Cup 3rd, but Canadian Open in your hometown, in Edmonton, pretty much everybody in the course is cheering for you. How fun was that?
Yeah, I think my nerves were so high for the Edmonton race that it's made this race actually a little easier for me.
Yeah.
From like a pre-race nerves perspective. There was a lot of pressure on me to perform well there, and to be able to execute that was really, really special and important, I think.
Well, they started promoting you and Lionel 6 months out, basically, as hey, we're doing the Canadian Open. Here's our two Canadians. Let's showcase these guys. And this is where Paula grew up.
I think it's cool to be like, to race in your hometown because you have the support whether you race well or not. So to race well was amazing, but I think regardless of the outcome, it was really cool to race at
And also
home.
you were leading for a big chunk.
Yeah, it kind of kicked my butt into gear to ride fast because I was like riding the high of leading the race and coming into transition with a lead and everything. So yeah, it was really cool. Ashley just had a phenomenal run to catch me, but other than that, I think I had almost a perfect race for myself.
Well, and the other side of that, when you get 10th at the U.S. Open, and that's $16,000, which is really more than you'd win by winning a lot of races, right? And then $70K for second. Those are, and then second at Chattanooga and 6th at California, and it's a really good year.
Financially, yeah, it is. I mean, I look at the results list and there's no wins on there, and Eric's won more races than me this year, so I would love. I think I won St. Anthony's, but yeah, it's fun to win. Obviously, we do this for a living, so it's great to make money, and the PTO is putting up so much for us to be able to like make this our job and make it a viable living. So to perform at those big money races is really, really cool.
Well, and you've had a good history here in St. George, right? You were 4th here in 2021. In 19, you were 2nd, and you like this course.
Yeah, I've never had like a disastrous day here. So I always come back with good memories. And last year I was injured, so I was watching the race and watching Eric have a phenomenal day.
Eric had a great day last year.
fun to be on that side of it and kind of watch the races unfold. So obviously last year I was dreaming of this year being on the start line, and I've gotten here healthy, and that's kind of what my goal was.
So Eric, getting a 7th last year here at the Worlds, that's because I think going into it when people were picking top 10, you might not have been on a lot of people's lists, but you had a great race.
Yeah, I don't think I was on anybody's list for the top 10 really. I up until last year had never had a good race here. In my mind, I was always like, this is on
really,
paper,
it should suit you.
This makes sense. Like, it's rolling hills and it's cold-ish, and I don't know. It seems like it should be a great race for me. And then I just have these weird days where I just couldn't pedal my bike, or just, I don't know, like several DNFs, and then last year was fantastic. So.
Well, that's what racing's all about, right? Because
yeah.
you look at all your training and you're going, okay, this is perfect. I'm going to have a great one, and then other days you come in and you're just, you don't expect anything, and everything happens.
Yeah, a lot of the times the days that you don't expect anything are a little bit simpler because you don't have an expectation, and you don't get out of the water and think like, oh, I should have been here, I should have been there, and that affects how you're feeling. Just for me last year, I just went as hard as I could the whole time and tried to be in the race as long as possible, and I ended up 7th, and it was like pretty shocking.
Love it. Paula, for you, with that triathlon life, when you guys are documenting your day-to-day, at the beginning, was it hard to, because you're fairly a private person, and it's sort of hard to put yourself out there. Is it a lot easier now?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just part of our routine now to be capturing more stuff on camera and media stuff than other pros might do in their day-to-day lives. And it's been a really important part of our brand and just creating a community, which has become a bigger part of our careers than just racing and getting results. I think it is really cool for us to come here with Nick and with Eric and have people come up to us and say hi and say that we inspired them in one way or another. That really means a lot to us. So I can deal with the camera even when I'm not feeling like it, because I know there's a bigger purpose. And it's true, like, no one feels like having a camera in front of their face all the time, but we're pretty intentional about when we do film and making sure that we're not filming 24/7, although it might look like it.
Yeah. And for me, Paula, when obviously you had so much success early in your career, right? In 2011, you won your 5 ITU races over a couple years, and then there's a gap, and then you came back and you win Daytona 2 years in a row, and especially the first one, but then the second one when everybody was there, PTO US Open. Was that for you? How important was that win? Because it was. The year before, you and Lucy went back and forth. You ended up winning, but then the following year, everybody's there, and people are like, "Wow, the field's here now. Paul's not going to win again," and you did.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell too much on like the past and 2011 like that. That all set me up well for having this be my career, and I never imagined back in 2011 I'd still be racing.
Exactly.
But Daytona 2020 just kind of solidified to myself that I can compete with the best people, and has really given me confidence, I guess, to come to a race like this and feel like I can compete with the top of the field. So yeah, I mean, it was really nice to have that race when everyone was there, but it's 2 years later now, so the sport keeps evolving.
I mean, you've been pretty consistent since then. You've been racing
so.
well, and that's really sort of the key, right? Is you want to be in the money, you want to be a factor.
For sure, yeah, and
that's what it's about.
For me, it's like really being consistent with my running is the biggest ticket to anything for me, and I'm pretty healthy. Injury prone and have had health issues, through the last decade, but this whole year I've been healthy and not had any interrupted run training, which I think is really like my most important thing when it comes to triathlon. So I can go into a race confident that, there's a lot of races I've gone into, I don't even know if I can finish the run. And now I'm feeling like I'm fit enough to compete on the run. So that's a cool position to be in.
Well, and your run is a weapon. And when you're healthy, it becomes a bigger weapon.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a weapon as much as it was back in 2011. I think my bike strength has gotten better since then, and a lot of that's because of my run injuries. I've had to put a lot more focus on the bike, or I've been able to, so my bike's gotten stronger. And the run is still okay, but I wouldn't say it's like a Chelsea run, But it's a work in progress. So.
How do you guys balance just what does Eric bring to the table for you? Just keeping you calm, keeping you healthy. What have you learned from him during the time together?
Yeah, it's not always easy to do this together. There's obviously a lot of challenges, but I don't think I'd be in the sport still if it wasn't for him.
Really?
We have a lot of fun doing it together, and yeah, the thought of training alone and going out and doing stuff by myself is just like crippling. So the fact that both of us can kind of bring each other up and get out the door when we don't feel like it is really, really critical. And then just what we've built with DTL we have this whole other outlet of a business that we can work on. That's not a distraction from triathlon, but it works alongside it. So
yeah, it's a good balance.
for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And Eric, when people do come up to you and talk to you about the show, and you realize a lot of times you do this stuff in a vacuum. You're sitting in your garage or wherever, and you're editing, and you're like, you don't really know who the heck's watching.
Right.
And then someone comes up and says, that really made a difference. I learned a lot from you guys. We're a couple, and we have a hard time balancing this. How does that make you feel?
It never ever gets old. I've been working on videos since 2015
right.
and kind of building it, and then Paula coming into the picture, and a little bit of the extra time I was able to put into it through the pandemic really helped it grow a lot. And we were sitting there in our COVID bubble, kind of watching the numbers of the YouTube show go up and everything, and 20,000 views or 20,000 subscribers. But then when we finally went to our first race after the pandemic, and real humans started coming up to us and saying, I watch the show every weekend and it's amazing, and I bought one of your hats, and you're like, wow, it just makes it so real.
Makes it real.
And like, I used to work in a bike shop, and it reminded me of that so much, of like this feeling of community, and it just goes so far beyond the numbers or any sort of online thing. When we're at a race like this and people come up and say something to your face, it's awesome.
It's the best.
It is.
It is the absolute best. With when you're the pressure though, because it's like when you're doing a weekly show.
Yeah.
And it's a couple days beforehand. You're like, what the hell are we going to do? And we've got to not just shoot it, we got to edit it. There's pressure that goes along with that.
Yeah, there is, of course. And I've kind of found that setting that Sunday deadline for me really helps me kind of be more focused about it. And typically I think makes it less stressful than back in the day. I used to just kind of like try to make a video anytime something important was happening.
Yes.
And then it sort of felt a little bit more like a drag, versus right now I kind of get into this routine with it, and every Sunday, or every Saturday night, I'm asking Paula what she thinks the thumbnail should be, and like we've got like kind of a nice cadence with it and everything. But at the same time, like I've missed a couple weeks here and there when we're having a hard time with travel or whatever, and people are so understanding.
People don't care.
And for the most part, I think everybody is like, we can't believe you put out a show every Sunday and you train and you do all this stuff. So like, chill. If you need to take a month off, it's fine. So it's more like a pressure that I have, and that I'm trying to do something excellent versus like not let people down so much.
The sport has changed from the perspective of it used to be, and you know that world, skateboarding and surfing. If you don't have a videographer, what your trick you just did didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have that person. And in our sport, we never really had that. And it was really started with Talbot and with Lionel and with Gwen and those guys, and you guys have added to that. And it's exciting.
Yeah.
To give people want a backstage pass.
Yeah.
They want to know what's going on with professional athletes, in whatever the sport. They'd like to know what makes them tick. Yeah.
I think we're like pretty much living in a golden age of triathlon content, certainly relative to where it used to be. And that was my motivation back in 2013, 14, whatever it was, when I first picked up like a GoPro and started trying to make a video, was like, man, if I can just put something out there that'll get some other people excited about video and stuff and triathlon enough, that maybe there'll be more things, and I can watch it. Because I was watching these ski films and surf films and stuff, just like, why is there not a thing like this about Jan Frodeno? Because I would just watch it religiously over and over and over again. And now we're in that time. You can go on and you can watch, like during Kona, there was probably like 5 hours of video content going up every day about pro athletes and what they were doing, and
which I watched.
Yeah, we were so burned out after Kona and watching. It's like we binge watched a season of Game of Thrones in a day, or something like that.
Well, that's the best. I think we did 73 interviews over 7 days.
Exactly.
And people are like, I watched every one. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Get a life.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. But wow.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. That's a lot of stuff.
It's incredible. And I mean, you've been a huge part of it as well. So the more that people know like what we're doing or who we are and stuff, the more that they can root for their favorite pro athlete on the day of the race. And not just, it's just the whole, like the PTO says, rising tide carries all ships.
No question about it. It's interesting though, and Paul, I'll ask you this. When we look at back in the day, athletes didn't share right? It was, they didn't want people to know what they were doing. I remember Peter Reed would call me up, and I'm in a double secret training camp up here in, don't tell anybody, but I'm in Whistler. And I'm like, dude, I don't think anybody cares what you're doing. But that was sort of the mentality. I don't think Mark Allen was going online to say, couldn't go online, but sharing anything he was doing with Dave Scott. It was like everything was sort of secret. Yeah. But there really aren't any secrets nowadays. And I think Lionel started it with, hey, here's my workout. You want to go try and do that? Have fun with that.
Right.
Do you feel that that sort of, that mystique of, I got to keep everything secret, that's sort of gone away?
I don't know. There's a lot of athletes that are still very private about what they do. And,
okay.
Like Taylor Knibb, I have no idea ever if she's healthy or training or whatever, and that's fine. Like, people prefer to share different amounts of things, and we're definitely on the polar opposite end of the spectrum where we pretty much put everything online.
Right.
And Strava, our power numbers, everything is up there, and I'm a little bit more like that feeling of there's nothing really to hide. If you want to go do the workouts, that's totally okay.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, and ultimately I think sharing on YouTube and everything we do, the podcast has just helped build our brand, and that's a big part of what we're doing right now. It's not just going and winning, because there's more to it than that for us.
The winning is just the beginning of a conversation. I remember years ago, Paula Newby-Fraser and Erin Baker were the two best women in the sport, and an agent named Murphy Reinschreiber represented Paula. And I was like, well, Paula has a lot more sponsorship, because you need to understand, as an athlete, you're really only entitled to the prize money. That's what you're entitled to. Everything else you earn by the profile you present, the way you do photo shoots, whatever. Yeah. Everything else you do is what increases your value. Mm-hmm. It's from when you first got into this, it's changed a lot. It used to be, it was all about your last result is all that mattered.
Yeah, and that was a lot due to the nature of social media in 2010. It was like Instagram didn't really exist yet. There was Twitter, but not a way to really show photos or videos as much. So it's just the way the world is now. And lucky for us, we love video and photos and being creative, so that benefits us a lot in terms of sponsors liking that stuff. So
love it. Well, this is Wednesday, so you've got a show to produce by Sunday, right?
We have Nick here. Nick, come on.
Nick's going to be producing the show. I love it.
He helps us so much. I just have to give a shout out to
Absolutely.
Nick. He does. He's here with us, like, making us calm and happy first and foremost, but also helping with a lot of the videos.
Well, you're both racing.
Yes.
Yeah, so when you're both racing, you need somebody shooting.
Yeah, we might be the only couple racing this year. I don't know. But it's hard for Eric because he races second. So he has to stay home on Friday and make sure he doesn't get too emotionally into my race.
Exactly.
That's my goal for him.
Yes, I love it. Thank you, guys. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished. And
thank you.
Big E, have fun editing this next edition.
Yeah, we'll see. It might be Sunday, might be Monday. We'll see what happens.
Whenever it comes out, people will love it.
We'll get around to it.
I love it. Eric Lagerstrom, Paula Findlay have been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob from beautiful St. George. Hold on, we will be right